Over 50 years of progress separates the racers you've just seen from these vintage machines as they make their annual run round the old short TT course. Starting from St John's, the veterans move off, not without some effort, to Ballacrane, to follow the present TT course as far as Kirkmichael and a sharp turn onto the Peel Road. And how they enjoy reliving the thrill of those early days, like the sense of achievement in actually getting the right gear and rounding a bend without falling off. Along the coast road from Kirkmichael to Peel, there's the notorious Devil's Elbow, one of the most exciting hazards of the old TT course. Perhaps the road is wider now and the surface smoother, but otherwise the corner is almost unchanged since the first TT race of 1907. The idea of the Tourist Trophy races was conceived at a dinner in 1906 of the Autocycle Club, later to become the Autocycle Union. A race on English roads was impossible then because they couldn't be closed legally, and there was a 20 miles an hour speed limit. So the Manx government was approached and readily agreed to a race in the Isle of Man. In the first TT, held in 1907, there were two classes, one for single-cylinder machines and the other for multis, and the winning speeds were 36 and 38 miles an hour. The same distinction was made in the 1908 race, but in 1909 the separate classes were dropped, fuel restrictions too were done away with, pedalling was no longer allowed, and the winner's speed rose to 49 miles per hour. 1910 saw the last use of the old 16-mile St John's circuit and provides us with the first known film of a TT. They had some pretty odd ideas too. The 90-degree left-hand bend at Ballacrane, for instance, was so difficult on the single-geared bikes that this wooden banking was erected to help the intrepid riders swoop nonchalantly round. Most didn't bother to use it. Some tried, and look where it got them. By the way, Charlie Collier's winning speed on his matchless in 1910 was 50.6, a quite incredible performance for those days. After 1910 came the move to the present mountain course, and the next film we have is 1922, a real period piece made for the Scott Motorcycle Company. Back to breakfast. And apparently a complete overhaul. By 1922, speeds had risen to almost 60, but spectator interest was decidedly thin by present-day standards. The pit routine was much the same as it is today, with Boy Scouts playing an important role. Scots provided what was a sensation then and would be still today, the use of a kickstarter in a TT to save valuable seconds in getting away. This was the first occasion for 10 years that any make qualified for the manufacturer's team award. Scots won it with 3rd, 4th and 9th places, but the individual winner was Alec Bennett on a Sunbeam. 7 years later, machines like Sunbeam, Rudge, Velocet and AJS, and names like Bennett, Handley, Dodson and Simpson were on every enthusiast's lips. The course had been improved, and riders no longer had to decide which cartwheel rut to follow up the mountain. In 1929, little Charlie Dodson won the senior for the 2nd time, and here's his Sunbeam, which lapped at 73. 1930, the senior TT, with Jimmy Simpson having trouble starting his Norton, was a year notable for 2 reasons. It saw the dominance of the brand new 4-valve Rudges, which took the top 3 places in the junior TT, and 1 and 2 in the senior on their first appearance, and the last of his 4 wins in 12 years of island racing, by the brilliant Wal Handley, with a record lap at over 76 miles an hour. 1934, appalling conditions, wet and misty, as Stanley Woods pushes off his Swedish Husqvarna V-twin. Stanley had done the double in 1932 and 33, winning the junior and senior TTs each year. But not this year, for in 1934, the double was done by the popular Scotsman, Jimmy Guthrie. And here's Jim being congratulated by Woods. After the Second World War, the races were revived in 1947, and Harold Daniel won his second senior on a Norton at an average of 82.8, slower than pre-war speeds due to pool petrol. There were additional clubmen's races too, which gave newcomers more opportunities to race over the famous mountain circuit and learn the hard way. (1951), the Ballagarrigan Jump. Les Graham rounds Ballacrane on his Reg Dearden 350 Norton, and the senior lap record was now up to over 95. No wonder, for this was the beginning of the fabulous Featherbed Norton era. Introduced in 1950, the Featherbed was destined to become one of the really great machines in TT history, winning 9 TTs in 5 years, before the Italian dominance began in 1955. And 4 of those 9 TTs were won by a young riding genius. Here he is, Jeff Duke. 1961, the 50th year of the mountain circuit. Lap speeds of over 100, thanks to great names like Derek Minter, Jim Redman, and another Rhodesian, Gary Hocking. Alistair King here, seen at Ramsey. Tony Godfrey, and Australian Tom Phillis on the Works Norton Twin. Number 1, the great Bob McIntyre, and a young man who created a new TT record by winning 3 of the races, Stanley Michael Bailey Halewood. And in the Deerstalker, Rem Fowler, winner of the very first TT. And now, 6 years later, Mike Halewood has just won the 1967 350 Junior on a Honda 6, his 11th win, which makes him a record holder for TT victories. How does he rate his chances in the Diamond Jubilee Senior?
Mike, you have just created history by winning 11 TTs and beaten Stanley Woods. Now, what does this mean to you?
Well, I'm very proud to have done it naturally, but doesn't worry me all that much, really.
Now, and what is left, Mike? I mean, you have won, 300 races, 60 Grand Prix, I've forgotten how many TTs and World Championships, but where do you go from here? I mean, what...
Down.
Well, yeah, but I mean, are you going to switch off before you go down, or are you going to keep on racing for another 2-3 years, or don't you have any plans?
At the moment, I haven't got any plans, but I believe Hondas are coming back next year in full force, so I presume I'll be riding again next year anyway.
Oh, great. Well, now, what about Agostini? What sort of opposition from Agostini would you expect on Friday compared with today?
Much more, I think.
Why?
I believe that the MV probably is easier to ride for a start, and I know that he'll be trying harder on Friday than he did today. I think he's saving himself or something, I don't know.
And I presume it's a masterpiece of understatement to say that you are extremely anxious to win on Friday.
You could say that.
The day before the senior, Thursday, there's scrutineering, better known in the island as the weigh-in. And this is Mike Halewood's big Honda. The scrutineering is very thorough and nothing is taken for granted. And here comes Albert Moule, veteran of Isle of Man racing, who says that this really is the last time. after riding in a record 44 TTs. Competitors and officials come in all shapes and sizes. Then, with scrutineering completed, riders have to surrender their machines for overnight storage. Race day, the Golden Jubilee Senior TT, and glorious weather to celebrate it. The world's greatest road race and the world's greatest riders. On the left, Giacomo Agostini, and beside him, Mike Hailwood. And there's Mike's brutal Honda. Two world champions of today. But here's the man some say is the greatest of them all, Jeff Duke. And how does Jeff compare today's Superman, Mike Hailwood, with the aces of the past?
Well, it's always very difficult to make this sort of comparison, but there's one thing absolutely certain. He is the finest rider in the world today, by quite a long way, I would say.
How much would you say course alterations have affected speeds beneficially recently?
Well, again, it's a little bit difficult to estimate, but I would say something like, shall we say, between the time when Bob McIntyre did the first 100-mile-an-hour lap and the present time, I would say it would probably be about a minute.
A difficult question now for Stanley Woods, 10 times a TT winner in the 30s. Did he have more competition than Hailwood, who's won 11?
I don't know. I think possibly there was more competition high up. Possibly there were more of us on the top line at any given moment. I realise that this is being taken down and will be held in evidence, used in evidence against me in the future. So,
Stanley, and how about this one? How do you rate Mike Hailwood compared with the greats of your day? I know it's difficult, but...
It's a very difficult question, and to be able to answer that, I went up on the mountain today, and I saw him on the 33rd at Keppelgate, Gates Cottage, and Craignabar. And it'll take a very good man to hold a candle to him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Absolutely tops.
When you were watching it, did you wish you were back there yourself?
I sure did.
Well, Hailwood's got a tough job today, because for once he hasn't been fastest in practice. It's no secret that his Honda 4's not easy to handle, and Mike's fastest practice lap has been handsomely beaten by the brilliant 500cc world champion, Giacomo Agostini, who's also leading this year's championship and won last year's Junior TT. The entry of the Gladiators. Agostini, 25 today, and hoping to celebrate with a first ever Senior TT win by an Italian. Hailwood, who's won more TTs than anyone, knows that every detail matters. Malcolm Uphill from Wales. Cheer for Julia Marsovsky from Switzerland. Steve Spencer, who's riding the Lancefield Norton, and Dave Croxford. John Blanchard on the Seeley Matchless. Peter Williams on Tom Arter's Matchless. Fred Stevens to ride the Hannah Payton. With just seconds to go, the Castrol ambulance helicopter lifts off. And with weather like this, there's no doubt that records will be going wholesale today. Go! The first two are Ron Chandler and Malcolm Uphill. And there's the other 89 starters lined up on the Glencrutchery Road. Now, number 4, Mike Hailwood. A superb start. "30 seconds later, Agostini with his MV3, all tensed up for one of the most important races in his career. And another scintillating getaway. And as the rest move up to start 2 by 2 at 10-second intervals, the leaders hurtle down to Quarter Bridge. Hailwood rounds the tricky right-hander in superb style, but from here on, he'll have his work cut out to stave off Agostini's better handling MV. And here's Ago, still 30 seconds behind Mike, but that's with only a mile gone and another 225 to go. And now, Renzo Pasolini on the handsome Benelli 4. 2 miles out at Braddon Bridge, John Cooper and Chris Conn on their Nortons. Balacrane, and that's Marsovsky, but gaining fast and still together, Cooper and Conn. 9 miles further on, the famous Balaf Bridge, and Hailwood arrives first. But 23 seconds later, it's Agostini, so he's leading by 7 seconds. Fred Stevens and Mike Duff leap the bridge at Balaf, and then it's on to the twisting Quarry Bends and the glorious flat-out Sulby Straight before anchoring up hard for Sulby Bridge. Number 47 there's Tony Wilmot's North. And from Sulby Bridge, it's on to Ginger Hall, to Glenduff, Glentrammon, Milltown Cottage, Parliament Square, Ramsey, Mayhill, and up to the 10 miles an hour Ramsey hairpin. And just above the hairpin, still climbing, Steve Spencer flings his Norton round Waterworks Corner and onto the gooseneck. That's the gooseneck down there. And here's Gordon Keith from Rhodesia, just ahead of number 40, Rex Butcher, but 60 seconds behind Rex on corrected time. And look at this, the glorious mountain stretch round the veranda, past the Les Graham Memorial and on to the bungalow, over 1,300 feet up and almost the highest point on the course. Down the mountain to Signpost Corner. 36 miles gone, and here's Hailwood. And 19 seconds later, Agostini. So Ago's leading Mike by 11 seconds. Number 2, uphill on the Francis Beard Norton. Hailwood completes lap 1 at an amazing 107.4 to break his own lap record from a standing start. But it's not quick enough. Agostini shattered the lap record at 108.4 to lead Mike on time by 12 seconds. And leading on the road on lap 2, Hailwood well out in front. Well out in front. Uphill there's in 6th place at over 99 miles an hour. And here's the scrap for 4th, Blanchard and Williams, with Peter almost into the churchyard. Balaf again, uphill, Blanchard and Williams, a terrific scrap between the 3 singles on the leaderboard. On past Waterworks Corner and up the mountain, these 3 are still at it, lapping at well over the ton. The speeds are really up today. Still together, John Cooper and Chris Conn at the Graham Memorial in 7th and 8th places. The bungalow as Ron Chandler roars by. And what a race this is. After 2 laps, Hailwood's clawed Agostini's lead down to 8.6 seconds, with another lap record at 108.8, with Pasolini's Benelli 3 minutes behind in 3rd place, Williams 4th, Blanchard 5th and uphill 6th. 6 different makes on the leaderboard, Agostini and Hailwood averaging over 108, and Ago looking as though he could be the first Italian to win the Senior TT. No wonder everyone who isn't watching is listening. 3 laps gone, half distance and pit stop time. Hailwood's mechanic signalling Mike where to stop. And here's the Honda. Start the watches. This pit stop's going to be absolutely crucial for Hailwood's cut Agostini's lead to a mere 2 seconds. So this could win or lose the race for Mike. Goggles changed, fuel still going in, and there's Agostini. What a sight! The first 2 refueling next to each other. But Mike's in trouble. He's frantically hammering up a loose twist grip. This could change everything. So Mike's been lapping at over 108 with a sloppy throttle control. Fantastic. But now this pit stop's losing him valuable time. He's away. His stop, 47.8 seconds. Now what about Agostini's time? More or less? He's off after 37 seconds. So as he starts his 4th lap, Agostini leads Hailwood by 12 seconds, but with 113 miles still to go. But what about the rest? Well, amazing reliability so far, for there's no change on the leaderboard after 3 record-breaking laps. It's still Pasolini in a superb 3rd place. Then Williams, Blanchard and uphill. MV, Honda, Benelli, Matchless, Seeley, Norton. What a wonderful Diamond Jubilee TT. And there is Pasolini at Cronky-Vodi. Kurt Michael. But it's a bit tricky to wave back at 120 miles an hour. impeccable cornering at Sulby Bridge. Number 11, John Cooper. And just look at the flies collected by a travelling marshal. Parliament Square Ramsey and Tom Dickey, last year's senior Manx Grand Prix winner. Round the right and bend the left up towards May Hill. Number 24, Dan Shorey, and behind him Rex Butcher, who's gained 80 seconds on Dan. Now Gordon Keith takes Ramsey hairpin. No, you can't stop now, Gordon. And in mini leathers, Price on a Vincent. Riders come from all over the world to compete in the TT because it's a natural circuit, a real rider's course. Where else, for instance, do you see a magnificent stretch like this? The steep and demanding uphill approach to the swinging right-hand bend at the Gooseneck. But this is a race, not a travelogue. And there's Agostini howling along the veranda on lap 4, still leading Hailwood by a clear 12 seconds and averaging nearly 107, including his pit stop. This is what makes the TT course what it is, the mountain road. Mile after mile, past the bungalow and Windy Corner, on past the lonely 33rd milestone to Keppelgate, then down the terrifying drop to the Craig and the waiting crowds. Craig Nabar and Reynolds nips through on the inside. And here's veteran Albert Moule rounding Governor's Bridge on his way to finishing his farewell TT. Mike Hailwood storms flat out down Bray Hill into his 5th lap, striving desperately to reduce Agostini's lead. And there's Agostini striving desperately to retain it. Hailwood through Kirkmichael, and he's gaining. Agostini into Kirkmichael, only 3 seconds lead now. Hailwood swoops past Strybis at Sulby, and where's Agostini now? There! And the gap's 30 seconds again. Dead heat. Yes, nothing in it between these two supermen after 170 miles. Ramsey, Hailwood through Parliament Square to start the mountain climb for the 5th time. Agostini 31 seconds later, so Hailwood's leading for the first time by 1 second. Ramsey hairpin, Hailwood absolutely on the limit, almost beyond it in fact. Away up to Waterworks and the Gooseneck, and Mike's inspired. Only he could ride the big Honda like this on a course that's tough enough on any bike. Agostini, his riding too is inspired. No one has ever given Hailwood such a hard ride in the senior, and Ago's first race in the island was only 2 years ago. In fact, Agostini's gaining on Hailwood again. There's Mike on the mountain at the Graham Memorial. And here's Agostini, 30 seconds behind. So on corrected time, it's a dead heat again, with only 45 miles to go. On to Signpost Corner, lap 5. Hailwood another lap at almost 108, and now the countdown for Agostini. 30 seconds, 40. He's late, long overdue. Ago must be out. Yes, at Governor's Bridge, Peter Williams arrives in 2nd place. Agostini is out, coasting with a broken chain. And he's gone off the course onto the slip road at Governor's. What cruel luck. And number 5, John Blanchard, is in trouble too. But the last lap for Mike Hailwood is no cruise home to victory, for that twist grip's loose again, and his lap speed's right down. In a magnificent 2nd place, Peter Williams on the Arta Matchless, and an incredible 3rd in his first senior TT, Steve Spencer on the Lancefield Norton. 4th, number 11, John Cooper. And there's Fred Stevens, 5th on the Hannah Payton. Sixth, John Hartle, matchless Matisse, a wonderful comeback. But while the others ride on, poor Agostini coasts in and tries to continue, only to be excluded through turning off the course at Governors. Bitter disappointment for poor Ago, and his face shows it. So it's victory again for Mike Hailwood, a magnificent victory, but victory partly through the misfortune of a brilliant rival, and not the way Mike, great sportsman that he is, likes to win.
Right, it's turning it round.
When did you know? Somebody stuck a signal out. Down there, fortunately. Fortunately.
Well, they gave out on the thing, engine and stuff like that.
Yeah, but the throttle kept coming. The throttle's kept sliding through. Thanks, Vic. Thanks to you all, James.
Thank you.
Mike, many congratulations. Did you know that Agostini retired when?
Yeah, I got a signal out at, near Ballacrane.
When did you first find that out?
On the last lap.
On the last lap? I see. Did that have any effect on your speed? Did you slow down at all after that?
Oh, yeah, right down.
You did?
Yeah, right.
You did. Anyway, how do you feel now?
Knackered.